Welcome to Movie Lovers Club. The story of today's movie is based on the life of the youngest soldier in World War II. A three-person family in Russia is seen at the beginning of the film enjoying their time by a river. Suddenly, German fighter aircraft hover overhead as the youngest kid, Sergei, was bragging to his older brother and mother about being on top of a tree. The mother orders her children to run and hide in the bushes, but the 6-year-old insists he is not afraid and shoots a slingshot at the jet. To everyone's shock, he succeeds in hitting the jets and blowing it up. He turns to look, but his family has vanished. Fearful from the dream, Sergei wakes up and calls for his mother. Someone suddenly knocks on their door. He rushes towards it, thinking it's his mother, but a neighboring woman enters panicked. She tells him that his mother and brother have died and thanks God for keeping him alive. The young child, who finds it difficult to understand what she is saying, wants to wait for his mother inside the house. The woman wants him to flee since the Germans had attacked them. A group of soldiers suddenly approaches their home. Sergei is forced to leave through the window by the woman, but she is shot dead before she can follow him. Sergei sees his entire neighborhood blazing behind him as he flees the house. He eventually finds himself in the midst of the woods after a while of running. He spends that night in the wilderness. The next morning, as enemy soldiers come his way when he was drinking water from the river, Sergei quickly hides within a tree's roots because of fear. After the troops finish eating by the river and leave, Sergei takes their remaining food and eats it. However, the young lad is worn out as his last proper meal was 2 days ago. He eats some wild fruit he sees along the path, but just then, he is caught off guard by an explosion that happens behind him. With dizziness, the boy sees someone coming from behind him. He moves forward while limping but eventually passes out. 2 soldiers approach him while he sleeps. Then we see Commander Kuznetsov waiting for his patrol soldiers at the Russian army base. Sergei is brought in by those 2 soldiers. The boy opens up and introduces himself when the soldiers say they are on his side. When the youngster shakes hands with the commander, the troops laugh as the boy wants the commander to introduce himself as well. They give the boy water and food. Sergei's wounds are attended to by Katya, a nurse who is also charmed by the boy. Because he wishes to be a military soldier when he grows up, the child requests that she draw a tank on his injuries. The commander's gun and his batch captivate Sergei. After taking out the bullets, the commander gives him a chance to play with his honorary pistol. Sergei brags about being a soldier himself, and displays the tank that is sketched on his stomach. Sergei should remain with the battalion. The nurse Katya begs the commander, but he refuses and wants to send Sergei to an orphanage. Later a soldier approaches the commander and requests permission for the boy to remain with the regiment. The troops form a strong bond with the child and view him as one of their own. His presence relieves them of the burden of battle. For the boy's own safety, the commander is determined about transferring him to the orphanage. The next day, the enemy attacks, inflicting great casualties on them. A car arrives to take Sergei to the orphanage. The commander presents Sergei with a wooden honorary pistol and breaks the news. Sergei hugs the commander and says he's worried for his safety. The commander becomes emotional because of the hug and changes his mind. The commander asks Sergei to stay with them as his son. The soldiers are overjoyed to have Sergei stay with them as they search for infantry uniforms for the young child that evening. Sergei is awakened by the commander and hands him the clothes. They begin referring to him as their little soldier boy. As Sergei was running around, the Germans attacks the unit from the air. The troops fight the others while swiftly escorting Sergei to safety. The number of soldiers hurt is rising quickly. Sergei provides water to thirsty soldiers out of a desire to be useful. Later, the commander and Katya are seen discussing. Although they do not express their feelings, the two appear to be attracted to one another. He insists that the commander give him a work the following day, and is given the assignment to distribute the letters to the soldiers. He skillfully completes his assignment, and even gets the warriors to dance by reading the letters with his imagination as he cannot read. The next day, Sergei uses his binoculars to venture a little bit outside of the facility. When he notices a leg moving from a haystack, he immediately runs back to the battalion and informs the soldiers of his discovery. The troops follow the boy despite their skepticism. 2 German spies are discovered hidden underneath when they get close to the haystack. The boy is praised for his intelligence, and the spies are captured. The following evening, the commander presents Sergei with the adoption paperwork. The child now has him as his legal father. Later, Sergei takes the commander to confess to Katya because he is aware of the commander's emotions for her. However, the two mistakenly believe she is interested in someone else when they see her talking to a different man. The Germans launch another assault on the base. This time, Sergei does everything in his power to aid the soldiers by giving them ammo, but the soldiers order him to return to the shed since the outside is too hazardous. The commander and others are frantic when he arrives at the shed because the phone's connection with the colonel has been lost. To repair the damaged wires, a soldier is sent. Sergei followed him and observes that he has sustained deadly injuries. He asks the dying soldier to guide him on how to fix the cables and fixes the cable on his own. More troops are called after the connection re-establishes. Everyone's life is saved by Sergei. The commander and Katia are later seen conversing by the river. Finally, the commander tells her how much he loves her and begs her to be Sergei's mother. Before Katia can say anything further, a soldier approaches them and hands the commander a letter stating that they have been dispatched from the base. The next day, Sergei and every soldier depart for their new base. However, they encounter a minefield along the road, which causes some of their cars to be destroyed. The group's orderly, with whom Sergei had a close relationship, dies in the explosion and the commander is injured. He sobs while hugging the commander. They travel to their new base while carrying the injured people along with them. When they eventually arrive at the base, they encounter the general, the commander's boss. He commends the captain for having such a smart child and expresses his own admiration for the youngster's ambition. Their division receives a guard's banner the following day, and the boy also receives one. When the general hands him his badge, Sergei makes a commitment to save his nation. The commander is trapped beneath the rubble after their base is ruthlessly attacked one night. Sergei tries to save the commander while sobbing for him. Sergei gets help and the commander is rescued with the help of other soldiers. The following day, Sergei approaches the commander. While attempting to save the commander, Sergei suffered hand injuries. The youngster is now an indispensable member of the group. He travels wherever they go. The unit is seen relocating to a different base as the film comes to an end. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comment section.